Yeah, we are a little seat of the pants here, you and me running around finding a place to film. But I'm really excited to catch you at the end of the second day of ZohoDay, talking with a bunch of opinionated analysts about the future of enterprise software, right when SaaS is facing this really intense scrutiny by the markets and AI is filled with hype and what I would consider unethical behavior, but also perhaps untapped possibilities. So what do you make of all this?
Well, it is in companies' interest to hype it up.
Yeah.
And it is in media's interest to hype it up, and it is in VC's interest to hype it up.
Yeah.
All we get is hype, and sometimes it gets ahead of reality.
Yeah.
And that's the current state of the market.
Yeah, absolutely. You had a really interesting talk with us on the first day where I think you, in my mind, Zoho's kind of pushing a really different view of the future than what I might consider the big AI view of the future. Words like sovereignty, context, I think I wrote down sovereign context even. You made this powerful point. I think that basically if intelligence is served up for you without sovereignty, then when you lose that, you lose your so-called intelligence services. They're just gone, right? So how intelligent are you? So can you just talk a little bit about the contrast between how Zoho sees these things?
I mean, what we look at is, at least if we talk to the customers and in the context of sovereign countries, they were protecting the physical borders. But when borders go digital, what do they protect? Right. And then they have this national intelligence, but we are asking this intelligence to be uploaded to, offsites controlled by someone else, some other entities. What does that mean? And customers are not feeling comfortable with that. Yeah. They're saying, I need it to be on-site, on-premise, within my country, with models that I can control and train, and make sure that I train them with my data, where the vendors themselves do not have access to that data. Right. And those are the discussions we are having, which is completely different from the other data, other discussions that are happening with other vendors. Yeah, there's a broader thing that is at play that customers are not looking at in terms of who gets to keep the value. Right? I often ask the question, why is Chrome open source and not search? Right. Why is Android open source and not apps? Why is MCP and A2A open source and not models? Because one of them is distribution layers that gets to protect your moat. One is your value extraction layer where you get to make money, while the other one is grabbing all the data. So by open sourcing MCP, you're allowing customers to push all the data, and then at some point, these closed systems will become tax extraction systems. And that's something that is making customers uncomfortable. Of course, we feel uncomfortable with that. So we think there's a different model there, where we should not move towards a centralized systems trying to extract value. Customers and their business should be in control. So that's why we are looking at alternative approach, where we give the models to the customers, let them train, give them the tools, let them train their data, the models with their data, and use it for their business. Yep. Increasingly, those discussions are becoming fairly common.
It's interesting because you hear that from customers, and I think that also fits in with a certain spirit of independence you've always had, right? Because you've always gone to extraordinary lengths to build your own tools. When sometimes an analyst like myself will be like, why did you do that? Like, why did you build your own browser or whatever? But in fact, like, that's been consistent, right? And so building your own LLMs essentially is part of that too.
Yeah, I mean, in this case, it's part of the playing the long game. Yeah. Otherwise, increasingly, if you look at many SaaS companies, 40-50% of their revenue goes towards, let's say, sales and marketing that somebody else controls. Yeah. Another 20+% goes towards public clouds out there. Yeah. Then you got to ask the question, if 70-80% of your revenue goes towards this, are you really a technology company? If you don't own the core technology, for any company to be a sovereign company, you got to own the core technologies. And that's a fundamental first principle question we ask. And we think we got to own the technology. that will give us the flexibility to deploy based on what the customer needs, and it'll be future proof.
Right. And yet you do have a little bit of a dance to play there because some customers are going to be running apps from various things. You do want to be compatible with MCP, and you do offer some agnosticism in terms of use of third-party models. So you have to juggle that, right?
Absolutely.
There's not a place for total ideological purity in this market either, right?
100%.
Yeah.
So that's why we support pretty much all the public LLMs. Yeah. We also host open source LLMs for our customers to consume. And on top of it, we also support our own LLMs. And we support MCP. So end of the day, we are saying, we are giving the keys to the customer. Let them decide what they want to do. The defaults do matter. The default is, we are not putting all the eggs on somebody LLM's market, where if somebody is using Zoho, your only AI solution or ways to use AI is to depend on that third party. We are basically offering multiple options, including sovereignty options.
I want to talk about SaaS disruption because I thought you all did a very interesting job of addressing that topic. And my contention is that not all SaaS is created equal and is equally disrupted. I go to some SaaS shows where I feel that the vendor is delivering some exceptional value. I think what's being attacked is there's some naivete, in my opinion, in the markets, because I think they don't always understand that just because you can build something over the weekend with Claude doesn't mean you can build a compliance system for healthcare like the one we showed off with one of your customers this week, right? So that's part of it. But also, the thing about SaaS is that you have been talking about the commoditization of software for a long time. It's one of Sridhar, your CEO's biggest talking points. Heard it for years. So you've been anticipating this confrontation, right? And
Totally.
And I think, to me, that's different because you're not as challenged and disrupted by this, both because you're privately held and you're not subservient to market trends, but also you've been thinking about this from a customer value perspective for a long time.
I'm surprised this is a surprise for the market. And today, valuations are crazy, and it has to come down. Even after the compression, I think they are extremely highly valued.
Yeah.
And end of the day, it comes down to what is the value delivered to the customer, not your public stock market. None of those do matter. Are you delivering value to the customers? Are customers doing better because of the technology that you brought? Fundamentally, it comes down to that. But the problem that has happened with the current market is there's a difference between a customer and a real customer. In our case, as a private company, our customer is our customer. But most public companies, they say they are the customers, but the real customer is the investor. So because end of the day, they are reporting those quarterly things to the real customer, which is the investor. So they have a conflict. So they see this as an issue because their real customer is impacted, but not the customer that they're serving. So there is a conflict here. In our case, we think software prices coming down is a good thing. When nobody is complaining that food prices are coming down. Why are we complaining that software prices are coming down? That's a good thing. That means the software diffusion happens, technology diffusion happens, more businesses get access to technology at an affordable price. Their productivity improves. They benefit from it. I consider that's a good thing. It's a vendor's challenge to figure out how to navigate that market. But broadly, when prices come down, that's a good thing. Best things in life are free. So nobody should be complaining about that. And if technology is going down that path with commoditization, we all should be happy with that.
On the other hand, AI isn't going to be free to run for a long time. And, I think this is interesting too, because you talked about extraction. I think smart customers understand that they have to be careful with the pricing because the pricing is going to change because we are moving into an extraction phase, right? And by the way, for those interested in this concept, Cory Doctorow has written about this concept of inchitification, sorry for the word, that talks about how tech companies more and more look to extract value once they establish footprint.
Yeah.
They're going to have no choice but to do this to justify their AI valuations. So what are you doing internally to control the environmental implications and the costs of your AI stack?
When you vertically integrate, you got to look at it from the broader perspective. Today, what's happening is, as you said, companies are investing taking the losses in the name of market share. Once they gain the market share, they just try to increase the price, extract all of that. Today, the prices are low and they are getting value, but that is only one dimension. What is the other dimension? What is the power? What is the cost? And when it is cheap, everybody uses it, but that is not the real price of the AI here. So what we are doing is trying to optimize holistically. We are adding a lot more context so that the size of the model doesn't have to be massive.
Yeah.
We can do a lot with a lot smaller model, and then go all the way to the hardware where can we optimize the hardware and the model together so that we deliver value. It is comes down to R&D. Now, if you look at post-chat GPT, 75% of public companies increase their prices. Yeah. Obviously, we didn't. Ideally, we do not want to.
Right.
That is part of the R&D, and we have to figure out solutions so that we can either keep delivering value or even figure out a way to reduce the price for the customer so that we pass on the benefits. And when the customers don't do that R&D, they let somebody else do the R&D, whether it is models or whether it is cloud. They have no option but to increase the prices because the source is gonna go up. So we are doing real R&D to vertically integrate, look at it holistically, and pass on the savings to the customers.
If I could pick an enduring message from this show for me around AI, it would be, I'm paraphrasing a little bit here, but it would be something around how context plus sovereignty plus the right size model for the task is superior to large models and generalized data.
Absolutely.
That's sort of the core of it.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The fact that you have context, you do not need a lot of data.
Yeah.
And you do not need a massive model. Then if you context plus data is enough, and you can run a narrow model to some extent and get almost the same result, and at a lower cost and at a lower energy usage. It is that holistic balance, and it is that balance we are trying to strike and pass on the savings to the customer. And that also enables newer scenarios, because once the model size is smaller, you can put it on your mobile phone and give it to the customer wherever they are, and even going on-premise and all of that.
I think the enduring thing I took from the show from a customer perspective, because most of your customers aren't as far along in their thinking as you all, right? Because you're a software vendor, that's your job, right? Yeah. Is trust, right? That trust is the ingredient that transfers from whatever they might be working on now to their journeys with AI, right? And
Totally.
That if you continue to earn that trust, you're going to keep those customers and you're going to earn their AI workloads as well. But one thing that strikes me is just the dizzying pace of this. Like for example, when Sridhar Venga came and visited us through his talk, he's talking about developments with Claude and coding models that he wasn't even expecting to see probably this year, right? And now here they are, right? So with that kind of unexpected pace that occurs in this, what is your advice to your own customers in terms of like navigating this? You're able to kind of play that long game. What is your advice to them?
I'd say stay on top of things. Currently, the landscape is shifting fast. It's tough to build a stable house when the ground underneath is shifting. And stay on top of it. Make sure, and there is going to be a point where it will stabilize. And once you understand the market, where the value is captured, and play that game. Don't give up your IP just because somebody made it easy to give it up and is forcing you into it. It is moving too fast because it is also aligning with some other vendors' incentives. Understanding that landscape and understanding where the value capture is important.
My unsolicited advice for your customers as we wrap would be, don't fire your people. And Sridhar himself said that.
Totally.
He said, we're not doing layoffs inside of Zoho. And it's not just don't fire your people. Let me step back from that. It's articulate an AI philosophy for your own culture that's right for you. And hopefully it has an emphasis on reskilling and training. That's where I come from. Like, I'm not saying that you're never going to have a headcount reduction and go for some operational efficiency, but I would just say that you've lost the plot if that's your focus. And
Yeah,
I don't know how you feel about that, but that's what I think.
this is a double-edged sword where you can say this is going to be a challenge, I'm going to let go, or you can look at it the other way, the way we look at it, which is this is a massive opportunity.
Yeah.
Can we use this opportunity, upskill our folks, and go broader, offer a lot more value to the customer, and there are newer horizons to be explored? Can we use this as an opportunity? For us, it's more exciting. If anything, we are still growing our headcount, and cautiously growing, I must say. But because we have a lot of ideas, it keeps us excited. So headcount, if I have to predict, this is going to be a positive side here overall.
Yeah, and at the end of the official event today, a bunch of your team members said thank you in like a different language, and it was such a moment of humanity. Like it was just so cool. And I don't know about you, but I crave those kinds of moments right now because I think we can get a little bit caught up in a tech conversation and in a divisive nationalist conversations. And it was just such a wonderful moment. And I hope people can find that through your company and through their own, because that's to me like what brings it all together.
Totally. End of the day, we have to understand that technology is just a sideshow,
Yeah.
and it's humans enjoy human connections,
Yep.
and that will always be the case. And it helps that technology becomes free.
Absolutely. Well, you've given us a lot to think about as usual. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Jon.
Appreciate it.